Welcome back to Loving Me, Loving You podcast, a safe space for women to flow through their divine feminine energy in order to attract more meaningful relationships, passionate relationships, and God ordained relationships. Today's conversation is titled Grieve Going. And let me make sure this mic not shaking, child, because there we go. But today we are talking about grieving, and grief can be a feeling towards losing someone. It can be a feeling towards losing a job opportunity. It can be a process of letting go. And what I've had to learn through my journey of grief is that once you learn how to grieve one thing, you learn how to grieve everything. And for me personally, I learned how to grieve through the loss of my father. And at first, I had no idea what grief was because it's a topic that a lot of people shy away from. It's a sensitive emotion that many people don't allow themselves to feel or express or talk about because of the amount of pain that comes with it. And although it does come with a lot of strong emotions, such as depression, such as anger, such as in denial, it is a process that is needed in order to be a human and to continue to move forward through life. And I've had to grieve a few things, truthfully. I've had to grieve the loss of people. I've had to grieve the loss of partners after a breakup. Grief can literally, it can hit you like a truck if you have to let go of something that you're used to. And I feel like it's the familiarity of having someone or something in your life. I've even grieved businesses. I've grieved versions of myself that I thought I would identify with forever, but they ended up just not being for me anymore. I've had to grieve addictions. I had to let go of drinking at a point in time. And although I still, I allow myself to indulge time to time, I've just learned you have to let go of certain versions of who you are. Where once upon a time I was able to drink fifths of Douce or Casamigos, it's like I had to let go of that version of myself. So now, I'm a little wine drinker. I love me some Cabernet. I love me some Merlot. And believe it or not, I've had to grieve that part of me. Sometimes when I go out, I'm like, ooh, I wish I could still do the things that I used to do. I wish I could still drink the way that I used to, but I had to grieve going. I had to keep going through my grieving process of letting that go. So if you are someone that doesn't know how to embrace grief for the beautiful, but painful, but confusing, but clear cut process that it is, this is the episode for you. I feel like the first step of grief is acceptance. It is bringing yourself into the now moment and allowing yourself to understand that that chapter is over. That person is leaving out of your life and they're not going to be back. It's just the acceptance. And although it sounds very intimidating, it might sound a little harsh. That is what grief is. It's a strong standing point of this is it. But wherever something ends, something new is beginning and transpiring into your life. So the first step is acceptance. Coming into the now moment, realizing that this is it. Number 2 is identifying what does your healing look like. If that's journaling, if that's maybe joining a support group to have the support and the love that you need after the loss of love, that may be the right thing for you. I've just learned through grief that once you accept that something is gone, once you accept that you have to officially let go and say your goodbye, you need something that's going to kind of play as a distraction for you. And this is why after grief, a lot of people fall into addiction because it's about filling the void of losing something. Because in order to gain something, we have to lose something, whether that's someone passing or not. In life, there's always going to be a loss to gain something new. So to fill the void of that loss that you feel like you're experiencing, I suggest finding something healthy because the quicker you can find a healthy replacement, the less likely you are to fall into a negative replacement, filling a void with sex addictions or filling a void with alcoholism or hard drugs. Everyone copes differently. And I have so much empathy for people that fall into addiction after grief, because I was one of those people. I was the type of person, I no longer knew who I was without a certain person in my life. I no longer knew, how am I going to keep going if this person that was once with me every step of the way is no longer there? How am I supposed to find myself? How am I supposed to smile the same or laugh the same or continue to be hopeful that love exists if I have to keep breaking up and keep separating from people that I'm giving my whole heart to? And truth is, it's replacing it with something else. So I would just encourage you, sit down and get to know who you are. I'm the type of person, I needed a lot of mind stimulation to be able to grieve going. So I surround myself with art. I have canvases all over my room. Painting has allowed me to slow down and not only sit in the moment that I am in grief, but it allows me to take my emotions, take my thoughts and put it onto the canvas. But it's a slow down process. So painting to me is grieving. The loss of someone is so slow. It takes so much patience. It takes so much focus. It takes so much detail to work through and get through that complexity of your emotions. Painting is the same thing. If you sketch a person, now you have to paint in their eyeballs. You have to paint in their lips. You have to paint in their body. You have to focus on the tones. What color palette are you going to use? That's grief for me. So it's just about transmuting and taking that darkness and turning it into light. Number 3 is open your heart to new love. And this step may take some time. But what I've learned is grief is grief because it lacks love. Let me say that again. Grief is grief simply because it lacks love. The moment we lose that love in our life that we clung so tightly to, we feel like, I'm never going to feel that feeling again. I'm never going to have a friend that was there for me and loyal for me the way that my friend was, and now my friend is gone. Or I've never been able to be that vulnerable and that open about my childhood trauma with a partner. That now that I have to let go of this spouse, how am I ever going to find that vulnerability within myself again? But truth is, you're closing yourself off to your new chapter the moment you stop embracing love after loss. So those are 3 steps in your grief process. And let me just run it back. Let me run it real back. Number 1 was acceptance. Bringing yourself into the now moment and understanding that this is the end. Sometimes it's in our willpower to make that decision to let go. But sometimes it's inevitable due to death. So it's about that acceptance that here I am. This is real. And what do I do next? That brings me to number 2. Finding something new to fill your void of loss. The only way to avoid a negative coping style is to replace it with a healthy coping style. You have to be so intentional when you are grieve going, because, child, the loss of anything, it makes you feel empty. So surround yourself with new friends after losing a friend. You don't have to go back to dating immediately, but get clear on, what do you want to see in your life now? What type of partner do you want now? How do they talk? How do they walk? How do they show up in the world? So just identifying, what's your new life going to look like? What is your new routine going to look like? What is your new relationship going to look like? And number 3, what was number 3? Hold on, let me think. Okay, so we had acceptance. We had find a healthy coping mechanism. And number 3, there we go. Open yourself to new love. That can be surrounding yourself with family through this troubling time, surrounding yourself with friends through this troubling time, surrounding yourself with a new partner, maybe dating again. just to embrace new love in your life. The moment we lose love, this is what we all do. And I'm in your business because I know you do this because it's a human instinct. You know what? I'm never going to love like that again. I will never, ever, ever have a friend like that. It would be wrong of me if I moved on that quickly and surrounded myself with new friends after letting go of my best friend or after my best friend has passed on. I will never be able to do that again. But it's through those words that dims your light even more, and it puts you into your sunken place of darkness. Because we need love. It's one of our most basic needs. It does not matter. It does not matter what you've had to let go of. God still has more in store for you. So give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself. Never rush your grieving process, but always remember that you have to grieve going. You have to continue through with life because your life is not over. It may seem like the end of the world, but through that grief, you will come out a better person. You will come out a stronger person. You will come out with clearer thoughts about what death means and why things always come to an end. It's a part of life. It's a beautiful process that allows us to transform into these beautiful butterflies and transform into a renewed mind and a renewed heart and a renewed spirit of what ending and beginning truly means. And always remember, keep going, keep growing,